Hey everyone, welcome to WITcode, where in this video we're going to be building a JavaFX application that is a login and sign up form, so you can log in and you can sign up. And what this also has is a database connection. So specifically it's connected to a MySQL database. So if we go into here, into a MySQL workbench, you can see we have some of the users that have already signed up. So for example, if I go in here, this is the login page, and we already have, say, WITcode as the username and subscribe as the password. If I do WITcode, and then let's get it wrong actually, and I do something like this. Log in, we get an error saying the provided credentials are incorrect. And then say if we do it correctly, so I do subscribe, you can see we have welcome WITcode, which corresponds to the name there, and your favorite YouTube channel, which is also stored in the database right here under favorite channel. You can see we have WITcode or someone else. And then let's log out. And now also say we do, say if we just press login like this, it'll say provided credentials are incorrect because we have nothing filled in. And now let's show you the sign up form. If you go into here, let's say we want to create a user. Let's just show you right now. If we just click sign up, please fill in all the information to sign up. So there's a bit of error checking. And if say we try and take a username that's already taken, so we try and take WITcode. Let's do WITcode and then subscribe to, or it's just a different password, press sign up. You can say you cannot use this username. And that is because this username is already in our database and we don't want duplicate users. But now let's do a different one. We have WITcode 2 as well. Let's do WITcode 3 and then subscribe to, and then let's press sign up. Now it'll say welcome WITcode 3 and your favorite YouTube channel is WITcode. And now if we go into MySQL Workbench and we select our users, you should be in the database. So let's do that real quick. You can see that now we have WITcode 3, subscribe to, and WITcode in there. And then of course we can just log out. And yep, I believe I showed you everything, then sign up and log back in. But so this is what we're going to be building in this video. But so let's get started on making this project. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new project. So I'm going to be using IntelliJ for this video, but you can use it in whatever IDE or text editor that you want to use. But I'm just going to be using IntelliJ, and we're just going to start a new project. It's going to be a JavaFX application. I'm using Java 8. Even though it's 1.8, it's still version 8. And then we'll do next. And then let's just give it a location. So now our project is set up. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make the folder structure. So if we go into here and we go into source, this is where we're going to be using the majority of our things. You can see we already have a controller, main, and fxml file, but other things that we also need is we need two more controllers, one for logging in and one for signing up. You'll see more of this later, but I'm just getting this set up for now. We're going to do sign up controller. Another one is going to be logged in controller. And then we need our fxml files to go with that. So we're going to do fxml, sign up like this. And then we're going to do another one, and we're going to call it logged in. And then we're also going to have a utilities class that's basically going to handle everything with our database connection. So we're going to create another class, and we're going to call this db utils, like this. And now let's just set up our fxml files so they're using the right controller. And this can be done, you can see down here, it's looking for logged in. Our package, of course, is sample, so sample right here. But ours is logged in controller. So it'll be for a logged in fxml. And then for sign up, it's looking for sign up, but ours is sign up controller. And now the next thing that we need to do is actually establish a database connection. And to do that, we need to download something called JDBC. I'll leave a link in the description to a video I made on how to set up, and it goes in depth on how to set up a Java database connection with IntelliJ. So I'll leave that in the description, but I'm going to go through it quicker in here. I'm also going to leave the link to where you can download this JDBC driver. But so it's this website here, and what we're going to do, this is what's going to be allowed us to connect to our database. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to go to platform independent, and then we're going to download this zip file right here. And there's a little thing at the bottom that says no thanks, just start my download, and we'll download it. And so now we've got our zip file downloaded. Let's go back into IntelliJ. Let's actually make another folder. I'm going to make it up in the main thing here, and I'm going to call it, make a new directory. We're just going to call it lib. And this is where we're going to house it. You'll see in a second. I'm going to do open in, and we're going to open this in the Explorer. And then what we're going to do is go to our downloads, And you can see this is where our download is, what we just downloaded from that website. Go into here. We want to take this jar here, copy it, and then go back to where we were, into our lib, and we want to paste it in here. So I'm going to do copy, paste. Now it should show up in here. So we have our jar. So this is our JDBC that will allow us to connect to the database with our Java application, but we also, in IntelliJ, we need to set it up with our project structure. So we're going to go into project structure, and then we're going to go to modules, and then from within modules, we're going to go over to dependencies, and of course, what our project is going to depend on is a database connection, and we did this through our jar. So we need to get this here. So this is our current project, JavaFX login video, and then we're going to go into lib, click on this here, press OK, press apply, and OK. And so now we should also be allowed to form a connection with a database that we have in MySQL. And now the next thing I want to show you is actually setting up our database. So I'm going to go in here. I already have this one here, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drop it. So I already have a schema. If you don't have a schema, go up here. Actually, I'll just create one for this. I'll do this. I'm going to call it JavaFX video, like this. And then it'll show you how it's going to create it. Press apply, and then finish. And now it should be in here. If not, we refresh. JavaFX video. So double click on this. So this one's highlighted, meaning we can work with it with our SQL queries that we make in here. And now what we're going to do is we are going to right click on tables, create table. And the first thing we're going to have is a primary key. And we're going to call it user ID. We're going to set to not null, and also AI, which means auto increment. So every time a user appears, this is what will represent each user, and we want to increment by 1. The next, I believe, was username, and we are going to leave all these blank, keep it at varchar 45. Next is password, keep that at varchar 45, and then we had fave channel for the favorite YouTube channel, and we will do that, and let's just keep that the same as well. And now let's do apply. So we're creating a table, user ID, and not auto increment, varchar. We did set that to the primary key as well. Yes, primary key user ID. Okay, so this looks good. Apply here, finish. So now we've also got our table. Oh, I believe I forgot to rename this table actually. Let's change this to users. So our table will be called users. Apply this, and it's altering the table and renaming it. Okay, good. Do that, finish. Okay, so now we have JavaFX video over our users table, which currently is empty. So if we go in here, we do select all from users, because this is highlighted, it'll do it from there. We press select, everything's blank. Okay, so we've got our database set up, and we've got our JavaFX application allows us to connect to the database. Now let's start styling. So we're going to be using the scene builder to build these, and let's start doing that. And actually, also before we start this, there's a couple things I want to note is in here. This is an image that I'm using in the Signup XML. So this computer right here is an image, and this is an image right here. So and these are right here. So we have lock logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these from my old project. So I'm going to do copy, see if I can just do it like this. And I'm just going to paste them into here. Lock logo. Cool. So now we have this. Yep, we have that image in. And then the next one we need, go into here, is Whitcode logo. So copy this one. We are also going to paste that in here. So right click, paste, paste. So we have those. And then also the colors that we use here, the hexadecimal keys for these, which is basically just a way to make a specific color, I've noted in a comment right here. And so this is what we're going to be changing the text and background color of everything to. But so the first thing we're going to work on is sample.fxml. This here is going to be our main page. So what this is going to be is let me show you on this one, is this right here. So we got to set this up. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to use a horizontal box and then 2 anchor panes. So I think we can right click, delete. Let's also minimize that. So we get this view here. And then in our containers, because a horizontal box is a container that puts things left and right of each other, we'll drag it in there. So now that's our parent element. And then we have 2 anchor panes. And it's alphabetical, so we'll drag one into here. And then we'll drag another one into here. like this. And then let's just stretch this all the way here. And now the first thing we have in here is an image. So the way to do that is, I believe it is just called image view. And because it's an anchor pane, we can just drag and drop in here. So let's just drag this right here. We'll change the sizing and everything later, but after we've added everything, we can do what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to do switch to document relative path, and it's at, and we just call it, oh man, that happens occasionally. Just go out, go back in, and we need to go back here, switch to document relative path, and it is code logo.png. There we go. Okay, so we've got that to appear. And now the next thing is we had the background color of this anchor pane. And we can do that with a style. So we're going to do FX background color. And then the color that we want is from in here, this yellow, which is by this hexadecimal code. And so go back in here and click on this again, the background color. And we are going to set that to that yellow, like that. Make that a bit bigger. And then we can just, because it's an anchor pane, we can just drag things around. So let me go back into here, click on the image view, centralize it a bit. Cool. And then I think we just had two labels below this. So let's go into not containers, but control, label, drag that one below. I believe it just said 555, 555. 5555, like this. And then the font I used actually for all of these was not system, but it is Arial MT rounded bold. So this is pretty tedious, but I thought it made it look nice. So then I'll do 18. Let's do it like that. And then beauty of the anchor panes, we can just drag and drop things. And then we have another label. We can right click here. Let's just duplicate this one. Put it right below. And then change the text for this to be witcode at sport.com. Cool. Put that here like this. All right, that looks pretty good. And then the next thing we had is this over here. So next thing we're going to do is work with our next image pane, and let's do our image view again. So let's just drag this one, centralize it, and then do the same thing. So image views are really tricky to get set up in here, so don't get discouraged, but switch to document relative path. So I'm going to do, what's the name of this? Is lock logo.png. So if we switch here and go back, let's do lock logo.png. And then let's do this. Switch to document relative path. Ugh, got rid of it. But we will do lock logo.png. And now let's make this a little smaller and put it off-centered a bit, put it a bit more up. We can do some fine-tuning later, but it looks good for now. And then the next thing we needed was, so we have a text field and a text field here, and then another label, I believe. So let's go back in here, and let's just close this down again. Open this up. I'm just going to copy these labels, except this one is going to say username. And then let's duplicate this one as well. Except this one will say password, like this. Let's align these like so. And then we had text fields. So those will be controls, of course. So if we go into here and go to the T, text field, and then drag this in here. And then I believe the prompt text is what we want. And the prompt text is, or did we? I don't think we actually had any, did we? Yeah, we did. We don't really need any, so I'm just actually going to leave this blank. But then let's change the font like usual to Arial. It's like one of my favorite fonts. And then 18. Drag this here. Or let's just duplicate this for the password. that. Let's move these over. Okay, cool. Doesn't look too bad. And then the next thing we had to do was we need a button, and then, yeah. So let's do a button now. So that's also under controls. So we will go to button, place this in the middle, and the text on that will say login. And then, of course, this, change that to this, change this to 18. And then also something we want to do is go into the layout, not the layout, sorry, we want to change the color of it. So this will be the styles, and this should be FX background color, and I believe we had it, let's double check. Yep, we had it yellow. Let's go down here, let's double check. Yeah, background color, and then her cursor to hand. Let's just take this here, and then we're gonna go in here, change this color to that. Let's change the size just by dragging it like this. Place that in the middle, and then let's copy this one more time, and just have here, this will say not a user, and then let's change the size of that a bit. Let's do 14, and then actually this is another button. So this is a button, but it's actually transparent. You'll see in a sec. So we'll move that here. It's so we can have some click handler and stuff. You'll see it in a bit when we actually start coding. But then let's change this text to sign up. And then, of course, this, I believe it was, what, 14? And then to get this to disappear, we'll do some more styling, and we'll do background color. And I believe we can set it to transparent. Awesome. And then let's add another one. We can do cursor to be hand, so it's a hand when they go over it. Let's also do the same with this. Add this cursor hand, so now when you hover it over it, it'll be a hand. And then the last thing, let's slide this over a bit. And then let's change the color. So from this, we'll change this to just a blue. Text fill, the blue here. Cool, sign up, and then also I believe we had it underlined. So then if we go in here, style, I think we can just, or underline right here, we can just check underline. Cool, so this is essentially the same as the front page. So we've got that set up, but now let's just give these IDs. So this, let's go down here. And the way I like to call them is first it's a text field, and then it's the username. So text field username is what we're going to call it. And this one is text field password. And this will be button login. And this will be button sign up, like that. So those are all the interactive things because we use our IDs to link them to the controller, so then we can actually use code to manipulate them or get the text from here, sign the user in, and stuff like that. So then we're going to start working on the next one. So let's go to the scene builder, and this is our logged in. So this is when they're actually signed up. So this will look like this. So this one is a lot easier to make. So let's just make that real quick. So the first thing is going to be, I believe it's just labels and a button. So let's grab our label. Let's change our font to Arial. Round it bold like this. And then let's do 20. Want that to be big. And we'll change the text through code, but for now let's just say welcome like this. Put that in the middle. And then let's duplicate this, because the one below it is also custom information of the user, and it says it's about their favorite YouTube channel that we get from the database. So your favorite YouTube channel is, and I'll just say WitCode, because of course it is. So we'll do that, and then we'll put that in the middle. Oh, that was weird. Put in the middle like this, and then we need a button. So just our, oh, nope. Go back in here, just our classic button. Put this in the middle. And of course our parent is an anchor pane again. Let's move this down a bit. And then for a button, this will say log out. It's going to be Arial, rounded bold, and the size, let's do 16. And then also the background color. So our style will be FX background color, and it's that yellow. So can't remember what that is, but if we go in here up to this, it'll be the same color as this. Let's go in here and then go to FX background color, paste it in like that, and then let's just make it a little wider. Okay, cool, looks good. And then the final one is just this one right here, and what this corresponds to is this is the sign up one. So if we go here, I believe we have it pulled up. Yeah, signed up. So that's all this. So let's go in, and it's the same thing again. So this isn't going to be an anchor pane. So let's delete this. Instead, this is going to be a horizontal box. So drag that in here, and just like the other one, it's going to be 2 anchor panes. So drag that in, and drag that in. So we've got 2. Let's just span that one all the way. And in here, we have another image view. So it's the same as the old one. So if we do drag this in, oh, and the tricky image part, I think it helps sometimes actually if you open it up. So if we open up, have this open, it seems like sometimes it registers. I don't know about you guys, but I have issues with this at times. But so let's change this to document path. Let's do wit code logo.p and g. And what do you know? I think that is the key, actually, having this open. But anyway, we did that. And now let's have our other control. It's going to be 2 text fields. So one, of course, we're going to centrally align both of them. Oh, no, sorry, not a text field, but a label. Our text fields will be on the other side. So label, which is just pure text. And this is, again, 555. 5, then 4 of those. And then our family will be the Arial, rounded bold again, and then, I don't know, 16 or so. Right, so let's move that center, and then let's duplicate this. And once again, oh, this shrunk. Let's do witcode at support.com. And then once again, we need to change the background color of our anchor pane. And of course, that's just with the FX background color, and then we will change that to, what was it? Always forget what the color is, but back into here. Let's just take this one. So we'll get this. And then I believe we're still in the anchor pane. Background color. Awesome, looks good. And then I also think actually in our logged in, I don't think we added an ID to this, because we need an ID so we can interact with it in the code. And our ID is of course going to be button underscore logout. Okay, so got that. And now let's go back in. What do we have in here? Okay, so two more labels. So let's go to our controls. Close this. Expand this out a bit. Let's get our label. Or actually, no. Of course, what I could do is just duplicate these to make life easier. So duplicate this. set this. I'm going to say username. And then let's duplicate it again. This is going to say password. And then our controls, the other ones we need are a text field. Of course, so the user can enter information. And then the font will again be Arial rounded empty bold, 16. And then let's right click, duplicate this. Now we have it for username and password. These are a little small, but that'll be fine for now. And now let's also just copy this. So duplicate, center this, and say favorite YouTube channel, like so. And then I believe it's 2 radio buttons. So yeah, 2 radio buttons. So I believe those are also in controls. And that'll be under RQRS radio button. And so the first one, your favorite YouTube channel, hopefully is Whitcode. And then we're going to change the font of this again. And let's change the size to 16. Hope you're seeing this come together. And then duplicate this again. Make sure it's still center. And this is someone else. So I don't know, you like some other channel more. But we have that like that. And then I believe that was it. It just says, oh no, we got sign up and then already a member. We're getting there. So it's almost time to start actually programming. But so we get button. Make sure where is the center of the actual page. Center of the actual page. This says sign. Let's do one word. Sign up. And this is Arial, empty rounded bold, 16. And then it's this color again. So I think this looks like a nice color. So I like keeping them all like this. And we will do down in here in our style, we have FX, background color. Paste this in. Then let's expand this out to make this a bit bigger. And then we just have left, so this down here is going to say, if we can move up to the top, already a member, and then we're going to have another button, but it'll be easier actually, just make a new one, put it right here. And it will say log in, which will allow us to switch back to the other page. And so, or back to our page to actually log in. That's what this is going to be used for. And so let's change this again to Arial. I think, what is it, 14. And then we also have our text fill to be a blue. Looks a little purplish actually. So blue like this, that's fine. And then underline, and then the last thing is we need to style it so the background isn't there. And that's FX, background color, to be transparent. Cool, and then let's just move this a little bit closer. Okay, cool. And so it doesn't look as nice as it does on the one I showed you in the beginning. But we are going to be focusing more, I guess, on the functionality of this, because all this also is in my GitHub, so you can easily just download this and change it the way you want. I just kind of wanted to show you the overview of how it was made, like using anchor panes and stuff. But if you want to actually dive deeper into it, you can just look at the code that I have on GitHub for this. But let me just center up these. Move this a bit over. Okay, cool. And then actually we didn't give these IDs. So let's go into here. And this will be TF username. This will be TF password. This will be RB wait code. This will be RB someone underscore else. This will be probably getting the hang of it now, button underscore sign up. And this will be button underscore log in, like that. So then we've got those all linked up with IDs. I think hopefully we have IDs and everything. If not, we'll find out when we're working on it. Yeah, it looks like we do. So did we just double checking if we added it to this here? Yeah, we did. Okay, so now we've done with all our styling, so now we can actually start coding. So now we're actually going to start the interesting part. So now let's start coding. And the first class that we're going to be working on is our logged in controller. This controller is responsible for the UI that is seen when a user is logged in. So this UI right here. And to start, so let's go into logged in controller. And to start, what we are going to do is we are going to implement the interface initializable, just like this. And then if we hover over, you can see we have to implement this method. And so this method here, initialize, is called when we are able to interact with the stuff injected with @fxml. And @xml means basically that it's the widgets. So let me show you real quick. So in our class here, this is why we link them by IDs. So we use the tag @fxml, and then private button. On this page, you have a button log out. Make sure we import this JavaFX scene. Make sure you import the JavaFX one. Import JavaFX scene button like this. And just to show you this, what this matches up to is the button here. So if we go in here and we look at the code, you can see we have button log out. So if we go into our login controller, we need to make sure that these are the same so that they get linked up. And the next, what we also have is we have a label called label underscore welcome JavaFX scene. Import that as well. And then we also have another label, which is label fave channel. Make all these private instances too. It's a good habit to get into. So private, and let's just make sure that these match up correctly. So if we click on this here, you can see we actually haven't given this an ID. So we will do its label fave channel like this. And this one is label welcome. These have to match these in here so that we can directly interact with them. And that's where we use this @xml tag. And then this initialize method will allow us to work with these. Basically, they have been initialized. We can actually work with our widgets in this method here. And so now what we want to do in this controller is set a listener on our logout button so that when it is clicked, the scene changes to the login screen. So if you can see, if you remember from this GUI, say we are logged in like this. I believe that was a username. If we log in, see when we click this button here, log out, we want to go to this scene here. And so the way we're going to do that is we are going to do button log out. We're going to set an on action to it, and that takes an event handler. So basically this is just when the user clicks on it, this action in here is what will happen. And we're going to do something, it's not a method we haven't made yet, but actually before we actually implement this, that's what we're going to do is we're actually going to make another method down here that will be used to set the user's custom information when they have logged in. So for example, this is going to, say we've signed in here, like this. We want them to display their favorite channel that's saved in the database, which is WITcode, and also their username, which is WITcode, both of which are saved in the database. And so this function will accept two arguments. It's not going to return anything, so we're going to set it as void, and we're going to call it set user information. And the two arguments it takes is first is a string, which is the username retrieved from the database, and the second is their favorite channel that is also retrieved from the database. And then all we're going to be doing in here is just setting the text. So we've got our welcome label. We're going to use set text. And it's just going to be welcome plus username. I think we added an extra parenthesis in here. And then the other one for label fave channel is going to be set text. Your favorite YouTube channel is, and then space, fave channel. And then let's just add an exclamation mark here as well. So what this is going to correspond to, of course, is these in here. Your favorite YouTube channel is this, and welcome this. The username being this, and favorite channel being this. But so we won't actually be calling this function from this controller. You'll see this is where you'll be seeing where we call this in a bit. But now let's work on the method to actually change the scene for our application. And this method will be part of our utility class, which is dbutils. So in here, which this class is essentially going to be the brains of our operation. So this is a utility class that is going to do all the communication with our database, including signing up a user, logging them in, and changing the scene to the correct one. We will call this method that I'm going to make in here called change scene. We're going to make it a static method, as most methods are in a utility class. And we're going to call it change scene. And the first is going to be an action event. Next is going to be a string, which is the fxml file that we actually want to go to, or the fxml scene, or the scene that we want to transition to, which is represented with an fxml file. The username that we want to pass, in case we're passing custom information, and also the user's favorite channel. Both of which, of course, will be used to be displayed in our controller and stuff that we made here, so we can pass the information into this method. And then title here is going to be what's passed in for this. So we have welcome up here. You can see if we log out, it says login. So that's something we're going to be doing that as well. But the first thing we're going to do here is create a variable called root that is of type parent. So we're going to call parent root, set that equal to null. Need to, yep, it's JavaFX scene parent. So we import that like that. And so parent is a base class for all the nodes that have children in the scene. In other words, this variable essentially be our new scene or display to the users. This we're going to fill it up with information, and that is actually going to be the scene in here that is displayed. And then next, we're going to do a validation check whether a username or favorite channel were actually supplied as arguments to this method. So we're going to say if username does not equal null, and also fave channel does not equal null, then we're going to do stuff in here. Because basically what this is saying here is if the user has signed in, if these values are null, it means that they're just switching from the login scene to the sign up scene. So say they're going in here and they're just switching to sign up or log in. So if the user was actually logged in, we would pass in their username and favorite channel and stuff like that. So if we do that and log in again, and we actually log in, we know we're passing information that will be displayed in our scene. So if the user is going to the logged in scene, we want to send information along with it, specifically the username and their favorite channel. What we're going to want to do now is create a variable called loader that is of the type fxml loader. An fxml loader essentially loads the scene from an XML document, or it creates the scene from an fxml document. And so we're going to surround this in a try catch. We're going to do fxml loader, just call it loader equals new fxml loader, and then we're going to do dputils class.get resource, and it's going to be fxml file. So the fxml file that we want to load, or the one that's passing this method, is going to be the one that is loaded and changed into a scene. Next, what we're going to be doing is turning our fxml file into objects that can be displayed in our scene. And this can be done using the fmxl loader load method. So this loads the objects from our fxml file. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the parent root to loader.load, just like this. So we can pass the object that is returned into our root variable. Now, because we want to pass the username and favorite channel to a different scene, we need to get the controller that we want to pass the data to. And the controller that we want to pass the data to, of course, is this logged in controller here, because this is where we're actually going to be setting their username and their favorite channel. So let's go back in here. And the controller we want to get, as I just said, is a logged in controller. I'm just going to set that equal to that. And then we can set this equal to loader.get controller. And then after we've done that, all we have to do is just call the method. So set user information, and then we'll pass in the username and fave channel. And we already checked that they're not null, so we don't have to worry about that. And then the last thing we need to do is just we need to catch an exception, and I believe it's an input-output exception. and I'll just call it E, and we'll just do an e.print stack trace. So that's just if anything went wrong. And now on the other hand, so say we go here and do an else. If the user just wants to switch from the login to signup page, then we're just going to load the fxml file without retrieving the controller. So we don't need to do this because we're not going to be passing custom information, because let me show you this. Because all they will essentially be doing, if there's no custom information, is they're just switching scenes like this. This is the signup scene or login scene, signup scene, just like that. So for this, all we want to do is just turn the fxml file into a parent that we can display with on our stage. So all we have to do then is just set root equal to fxml loader dot load, and then we'll just do dbutils dot class dot get resource, and then fxml file, just like that. And then of course, we of course just need to catch the exception, and it's an input output exception E, and we're just going to print the stack trace. So e.print stack trace. And then finally, at the end of the method, we need to get the stage so that we can set the scene, or set the scene of the stage. And we want to retrieve this from the action event, that object that was passed to this method. So this event right here, which will be from a button being clicked, is how we can actually get the stage and then set the new scene. So the way we're going to do that is outside of this else statement, we'll say stage. Let me just import it, stage, JavaFX stage, and we'll just call it stage equals, and we're going to cast this to a stage, and it's going to be a double cast. So then we're going to cast this in here to a JavaFX node, and what that is we're doing event.getSource. The event is the click, so we're getting the source of the click, and then from that, we're getting the scene of that. So, or I put this in the wrong spot, so this here, then we're saying get scene, so we're getting the scene from that, and then from the scene, we're going to get the window. So it's a double cast. It's a little confusing, but basically we're just using the event or the button that was clicked on. We're getting the source of that, and then getting that scene, and then the window, which is essentially the stage, and then we're casting it, or we're getting that as a node, casting it to a stage, and setting it here. And now it gets easier. So we're just going to set the title of our stage to what was passed in the function. So we can do stage.set title, and that will be just title, and then we do stage, this is the most important part, set the scene, and the scene of our stage is going to be, we'll have to pass new scene, the new scene object, and it's root, so it's our parent, and then we're going to do 600 by 400, which is the width and the height. So root, basically we get the fxml file, we turn into a scene that we can load. And also I believe I forgot a parenthesis there, so I have that one there. And then of course what we have to do is we always have to show our stage. So then we'll do stage.show. And so now let's go back into our logged in controller and let's pass this stuff in. So logged in controller here. If the user logs out, then what we're going to do is we want to change the scene to that logged in one. So we're going to do dot change scene. The event, of course, is the event here that is passed into this method from the logout button. And then what we want to switch to is sample.fxml, which will be turned into a parent and then displayed on our stage. We're going to pass login, and because the user is just switching scenes, we don't need any custom information, so these are just set to null. So this is essentially going from this, quit code and subscribe. Oh, wrong button. Yeah, username's already taken. Okay, good, we can at least see that that's still working. We go login, so this is essentially just, you're going in from here, but if we're already signed in, and we log in, this button right here, log out, is what we will click, and it will take us to this scene. So we're changing scenes, we're passing the title to be logged in, like this, and we're setting it to sample fxml, which is this right here. And so now let's go back into our dbutils class. And so remember how this is going to do all the communication with our database, including signing up a user, logging them in, and changing the scene, which we've already made the change scene event, but the next method we're going to do now is one that is going to sign up our user. And we're going to call this another static method, void because it doesn't return anything. We'll call it signup user. And what it's going to take is an action event object called event, pass that comma, called event, and that we'll use to change our scene, and then the username that the user wants to register with. So that's going to be string username, the password that they set, and then also what they fill in as their favorite channel. So when they're on this scene here, if they're on the sign up, we're going to be getting the username, the password, and we're also going to be getting their favorite channel and then registering it when they click sign up. But so then, of course, let's just make the function body. And so then we'll declare some variables that are initially set to null. And these are the connection to our database, which is going to be connection, java.sql, and we're going to set that equal to null. And then the next is going to be two prepared statements that we will use to query the database. So prepared statement, you'll learn more about these in a sec. We're going to call it ps insert, set that equal to null, and then another prepared statement, ps, and this is going to be check if the user already exists, because if the user already exists, we don't want them to sign up again. We'll set that equal to null, and then we have a result set, which is basically just something that returns, or that contains the data returned from our database when we query it. We'll just call that result set, and we'll set that equal to null. So all this is going to be useful for interacting with our database. And so if the user wants to sign up, we first need to establish a connection to our database. So I'm going to start this in a try catch, and we're going to set our connection right here equal to driver manager dot get connection. And what it takes is 3 arguments. The first, so this method here, let me just say real quick, is going to attempt to establish a connection to our database. Because what we're going to do when we establish a database is we check if the user's already signed up, or if the that username is already taken, and things like that. And of course, we need to sign up to or establish a connection to this database in here to do all of that. And so this takes 3 arguments, and the first is the URL of the database. And for us, it's JDBC :MySQL, and then -- local host, because it's running on our computer. The port is 3306, and then JavaFX, or the name of our table in here, which is JavaFX video. So we need to make sure that it's this schema here at the very end, and I called it that. So it's JavaFX. What was it again? I forgot. It's JavaFX video. So video just like this. Sorry, just check one more time. Yep, there's a hyphen like that. And then the next is the username of the owner of the database. And so for me, when I set up MySQL or MySQL workbench on here, I just made it the username to be root. And then it's the password that you also made. And for me, I just made it root backwards, or TOOR. So this right here should form a connection to our database, or attempt to form a connection. And if you want to understand more about this, I'll leave a video link in the description where I went over this more in depth. But for this video, I'm more so going to be glancing over this. And so basically what this does is if this connection was successful, we can create a prepared statement from this connection to query the database. And what we want to do is check if the desired username or the username that they put in here to sign up with or is already taken. And so to do this, we're going to select everything from the user's database where the username is equal to the user's desired username. So here we will do prepared statement, check user exists. We set that equal to connection dot prepare statement, and then our SQL statement will be select all from users, which is our table name, where username equals question mark. And the question mark is where we are actually going to fill in the username that the user typed in. That's what a prepared statement is. It's basically better than a regular statement because it for security purposes. I'm not going to go too in depth onto that, but just know that for this video. And so then what we're going to do is we're going to do check user exists, and we're going to set string. And what we're going to do is the first parameter, which essentially means this question mark here. If we had another one here, then that would be like ps check user exists dot set string, and the parameter would be 2 because that's the second one. But we're working with the first one, and the username is what we want to insert in here. So the username that the user typed into this box to sign up with, we're going to query the database and check if any of those exist. Let me get rid of this one. And so that's what we're going to do from this prepared statement. And so now that we've done that, we just need to execute the query, which returns a result set. So we're going to do result set equals ps check user exists dot execute query. And now if our result set is empty, this means that the user does not exist. And this means that the user can sign up with that desired username. And to do that, to check this, is we use a method if result set dot is before first, like this. And the method is before first is used to check if the result set is empty. Is before first will return false if the result set is empty. So if it returns true, then this means that the username has already been taken. So if the username has already been taken, we can print to the console that the user already exists, and we can create a JavaFX alert that notifies the user that they cannot use that username. So I'm just going to do system.out.print user already exists, just like this, and then we are going to create an alert, and we'll set that equal to new alert, and then we set the type in this constructor, so it'll be alert, if I can spell it right, alert type dot error, because there was an error in signing them up, and then we will set the text to be you cannot use this username, and that's because it has already been taken. I won't say that for security purposes, but I'm just going to say that, and then I'm going to do .show so we actually show it. And on the other hand, so outside of here, let's have an else. If the username has not been taken, then we can insert this user into the database. So in our else clause, we're going to write our second prepared statement. So that's the PS insert, and we're going to set that equal to use our connection object again, .prepare statement, and this time the SQL will be insert into users, and of course users is this table here. So we're inserting into this table, which currently has nothing in it. Let me go back, insert into users. What we want to insert into it is the username, password, their favorite channel, and then we have to specify the values, which, because we're using a prepared statement, will all be user input. So we're going to do question mark, question mark, question mark, like this. And then the values that we want to insert under a database, of course, are the username, password, and channel. So we'll do ps.insert.setString 1, and the first is the username. And then we'll do psinsert.setString. The second one will be the password. And then we'll also want to set for 3 their favorite channel, just like this. And then, of course, we have to actually execute this prepared statement. So we're going to do execute update. I believe an update is for things like inserting or updating, where it doesn't actually return something, unlike a select statement where we're getting a result set because the database is returning something. This is essentially just we're updating the database. And now that we've added our user into the database, we want to change the scene to the logged in page. So they've done this. Let's say we sign up. Okay, so we're on the sign up page. Let me just make a crazy username and some weird password. Favorite YouTube channel, of course, is Whitcode. And we sign up, and of course, when you sign up, it takes you to the logged in page. It says, welcome, you're signed in. So we're going to, of course, use the method we made up here, change scene, to do this. So we are going to say change scene. Of course, we pass in the event from the click, but this time we're going to logged in.fxml, and then we pass the title will be welcome, because it'll say welcome at the top. And then we also have to pass in the custom information to be displayed, which is their username that they made, and the favorite channel. So, for example, here it says welcome this, which is our username, welcome this, our favorite channel, and welcome is the title up here. And then logged in.fxml, of course, is this here. So let's just go back in here. And then all we have to do is just catch our exceptions. That's why everything's red in here. So we have to do catch. Of course, it's an input-output exception, E, and we're just going to print the stack trace like this. Or sorry, it's not an input-output exception. Of course, we're working with SQL. So this will be SQL exception, like that. And now everything's gone red, which is always a nice thing to see. And now something that you should always do when you're done with the connection to the database is close it, along with the result set, the prepared statements to release any database resources that the connection could be holding onto, which could slow your program down, and it's just generally not a thing to do. And this should always be done, or usually be done, in a finally block. So we have a try catch, and then another block you can have is finally, like this. And the finally block is executed no matter what after the try or catch block. So if the try, an error occurs and we go into the catch, finally will always be executed. If we go through try with no error, finally will still be executed. And this is good because we always want to free our database resources. So what we're going to do is in our finally block, we're going to check if each one of these up here is null, and if it isn't null, then we can close it down. And these are closed with the close method. So let me show you one. We're going to do if result set does not equal null, because if we did call this on it when it was null, of course we would get a null pointer error, and that is, of course, would cause a lot of issues. So we're going to do result set dot close, So this is how you close down a result set. And of course, we have to wrap each one of these in a try catch. There are other ways to do this, but for just simplicity, I'm just going to do that like this, and e.print stack trace. And then we're essentially just going to do this for the rest of them. So we're going to do it for the prepared statement and then the connection. And also, just to note, the best order to close these in is result set, then prepared statement, and then connection. So just keep that in mind. But then we're going to close each of our prepared statements. Okay, so now we have checked everything if it's not equal to null. So we've worked with our connections, our prepared statements, and result sets, and then closed everything at the end, which is so we can free all our resources. And now we've added the functionality to sign up a user, so let's work on the functionality to log them in. And this won't be too difficult. It's basically just different SQL statements. So let's make, this function starts here. So let's make a function here, and let's call it public, static again, void, and this is login user. And it's going to take essentially the same things, an action event so we can get the stage and everything, the username that the user is trying to log in with, and the password that they're trying to log in with. And then once again, we'll import our, or we'll use a connection, initially set these to null. We're going to use one prepared statement this time. So I'm just going to call it like that. And then, of course, our result set return from that, and we will set that also equal to null. And so once again, let's just form our connection to the database so we can query it and work with it. So I'm just going to get that from up here. So I'm going to copy that, paste that in here, and then I'll just do the catch block now, and that'll be SQL exception e.print stack trace like this. And so the query that we're going to be doing, so the prepared statement that we're going to be doing, so let's just set that up real quick. Prepare statement is we're going to be selecting the password and favorite channel from the table where the username is equal to the one that the user typed in. So in our GUI, when they are in the login page and they type in like WIT code, we want to retrieve their password and their favorite channel because we want to compare it to the password that they put in here. So let's focus on that. So this will just be select password and fave channel from our table users where, similar to the other query in a way, where username equals question mark like this, and then you know the drill of we're going to do prepared statement dot set string, and it's going to be this one question mark here, the first one, and that will be our username. So find the password and favorite channel where that username is the one that the user typed in, and then we're going to get a result set from this. So because we're selecting, we're going to do prepared statement dot execute query. And then once again, we will check if the provided username is in the database. And we will do this again by, using the is before first method. So if you remember from last time, so if result set, but this time we want to do the opposite truthy of this. So we're going to do that. And then if this, and if you can remember, this returns false if there are no rows in the result set. So we will say, we will print to the console user not found in the database like this, but then let's create another alert equal to new alert, and we're going to do error again like this, and then we will set the context to be provided credentials are incorrect, and then we will of course just show our alert like this. So this is essentially if the user is not in the database. On the other hand, so something is returned, or the user does exist in the database, then we need to compare the password they provided with the one we have in our database. And we will do this by looping through our result set and retrieving the password and favorite channel from the result set. So on the other hand, so a username was found, we're going to do result set.next, which essentially loops through the results. Even though we have just one, I believe you still have to do this. You still have to loop through it. But then we can get our password from what is retrieved. So we can, let's call it retrieve password, and then we will use result set. So remember, this will contain all the information that we got from the database based off the select query. What we want to get is the string password. And it's password because that is the name of our column. So in here, we have the password column here. So when it returns a result set, which will essentially be this row, we want to get their password and their favorite channel. And so we will do that, and then we can also do retrieved channel. That's result set.getString, and that's fave channel. Oh, make sure you spell everything right, which will be equal to this here, fav channel. So we have that like that. And also I should let you know that this is getString because what these hold are strings. If you can remember when we set up this table, I believe I can do, actually, right-click here, Table Inspector. If we go to our columns, you can see we have varchar 45. Varchar 45 was essentially a string. So when we are retrieving these, that's why we are saying getString. If it was like, say like getInt, for example, that's because our user ID column is an int. So just know that's why we're using getString. That's not the only method that you can use. And now, of course, let's compare our retrieve password to the one that user provided. So the password we retrieved from the database where the username provided was given, we want to compare that to the password that the user typed in here. So let's go back into here, and all we do to do this is we are just going to say if actually we can do it in here, I believe. Let's just, yeah, we'll say if retrieved password, and because it's a string, we'll do dot equals. If that equals password, which is the password, of course, that is passed into here when the user is trying to log in, then we will call the change scene event again. And so we'll pass in the event so we can get the stage from it. And this will be logged in.fxml because that's the scene that we want to take them to. And they've logged in, so we'll show them the message welcome at the top. And then we want to pass in the information. So retrieve channel, because we want to show their username and everything if they've logged in correctly. And then on the other hand, so the passwords did not match, then let's just outprint passwords did not match like this, and then let's create another alert. So alert, once again it's type error, and we'll do alert.set content text to be provided credentials are incorrect. And then of course we always have to show our alert. So then we'll do .show like that. And then of course with the signup method, so we have our try catch, and the same way we did in here, we need to close everything. So we'll do that once again in a finally block. So we'll do finally, and we just have to check everything. And remember the order goes result set, prepared statements, and then connection. So the first thing we're going to do, result set does not equal null, and then repeat this for the others. Okay, cool. And so now this should be, let's check it. We have these three here, and then we're closing them, and this is our login user function. Cool, so we're done with that one now too. Okay, so now we have finished our DBUtils class, which is essentially the brains of our application, and also I would say the hardest part to create. Now we just have to create our controller for the login page and our controller for the signup page. So let's start with the controller for our login page, which is just called controller.java. It's the one that the project made when we just did file new project and JavaFX project. But all we need to do in this is add the functionality for our two buttons. But once again, let's implement the initializable interface and override that initialize method so that we can work with our injected fxml widgets. So in here, and then if we go into, where is this? I think this is called sample.fxml. Let's just move it over here. And then we can see, go to scene builder, our widgets, like we have code here, button login, and we have to match up these IDs. Because also we have text field username and text field password. So this is so we can interact with these, but let's import them. So we had at fxml, and then private button. Don't import Java AWT because that's for Java Swing, but we're using JavaFX. So this one down here. and then button, and it's button underscore login. And then we're also doing @fxml private text field, and I believe it was tf username. Then we had another one, private text field, and this is tf password, like this. And so the first thing we're going to do is let's just add the functionality to our button. So all we have to do for this is button login, and we're going to set on action new event handler, like this. And then all we're going to do is, because we have everything basically set up with our DBUtils class, we're going to do that. It's a static method, so we call the class name and then .login user, and we're passing in the event from the button. We're going to get the text from the login field, so we'll do tf username and then .get text and then tf password get text, just like that. So we'll pass those in, and that will do everything that we wrote in our login method. So this is essentially when they're logging in here, they'll click login, it'll run through our DBUtils class and check everything that we wrote in there to make sure that they can actually log in. And actually, if you can remember, we actually did have one more button, and it's this down here, which is button sign underscore up. So we also need to inject that in here. So let's do this with the buttons so we can group them, and we'll do fxml private button, and this is button sign up. And for this, all we're doing is changing the scene. So we can do button sign up, set on action, new event handler, and of course we made all these methods already, so we just have to call the change scene method, pass in the event, and then this is going to take them to the sign up page. So we'll do signup.fxml, and then we will make the title to be sign up, like this, and then we're not passing any custom information because the user is just switching scenes, they're not actually logging in or anything. And then let's repeat this for a sign up controller. So just go in here, and once again, want to implement the initializable interface, and then implement the initialize method, like this, and then let's inject all our fxml components. So I'm going to get this, I'm just going to move it over here, and then go to scene builder, and we have like, check what everything's called, button sign up. That's just, you got to make sure these names match. So like in this one, we had button underscore sign up, like that. So make sure in this one, it is, I'm not here, but @fxml private button, and it was button underscore sign up, like this. And let's check the other ones. And then we do our radio buttons, and this was WIT code, I believe. Then we had another one that was RB someone else. Let me just double check. Yep, RB someone else. Then we just have our text field, so we have username and password. Cool, so we've got all our fmxl start up, and then let's just start with our logic. And now the only real difference between our login controller and this one is the presence of the radio buttons. And to associate our radio buttons together, so this is a radio button here. It's basically just something where you can only have one clicked at a time. And so we need to create a toggle group and then set the toggle group of each radio button so to be that toggle group so we can group them together. So this is done through toggle group equals new toggle group, and then we will do RB WIT code dot set toggle group to be toggle group, and then we'll do RB someone else, and we'll set that, not selected, but set toggle group to be that toggle group too, because this will make it so if you click only on one of these, then the other one will be unclicked, because the radio button should be like that. And that's why we have the same toggle group. If they weren't part of the same toggle group, then we could click them both at once, or they could both be filled in. And then also initially we want the WIT code radio button. So RB WIT code, we want to set the selected of that to true, which essentially means when you start the program, WIT code right here will have it filled in. Now let's start working with our sign up button. So once again, this shouldn't be too bad. So we'll do button sign up, set on action, pass in the new event handler. And so when it is clicked, first we want to make sure that everything is filled out. And if it isn't, we display an error message. So we need to make sure that each one of these fields and everything is filled out for them to actually attempt to sign up. So when the button is clicked, we want to get the text from the selected radio button, and this will be inserted into our database as the user's favorite YouTube channel. So I'm going to do out here, I'm going to say string, I'm going to call it toggle name equal to, we're going to have to cast it to a radio button, and then we do toggle group dot get selected toggle, and then from this, we want to get the text. So essentially what this will do is within this toggle group, we want to get when the user clicks this sign up button. So when they click sign up here, whichever one of these is filled in, so this one or this one, we'll get the text from that and we'll set that to the toggle name. And now what we want to do is check if the username and password text fields are filled in. If they are, we can sign up the user. However, we want to use the trim method on the text retrieved from the username field because we don't want a username of pure white space in our database. So we don't want a username of, say, just like this, or just anything with just a lot of white space. So let's make sure that they aren't empty. So we'll say if tf username.getText, and then we want to trim it, and then we'll say call the method is empty, and we're checking if it isn't. Notice the exclamation mark there. So we're saying if it isn't empty, and the password isn't empty. So another exclamation mark and tf password, and then we're going to do .getText .trim is empty. So if those aren't empty, then we're going to do dbutils and that handy method we made, sign up user, pass in the event so we can get the scene from it, the username .getText, and then we don't want to trim it here because say their username is like multiple words like Whitcode is awesome. We don't want to get rid of the white space in there because then when they try to sign up again, it wouldn't be the same username. We're just doing that so that they, don't have just an empty thing like this. And then we'll do username, password, .getText, and then for the favorite channel is we're going to pass in the toggle name. And I don't have to check if this is empty because initially we're setting this one to true, so something will always be passed in no matter what. And on the other hand, if they are not filled out, well, let's output something saying, please fill in all information. And then let's create an alert like we've been doing before. So alert equals new alert. It's going to be of the type error, and then we will set the content text to be, so it'll tell the user, please fill in all information to sign up, like this. And then with your alert, remember you always have to show them, so then we'll do .show. And then finally, the last thing we just need to do, so this is where the button ends here, is we just need to have change the scene to a login page when they click that button. So in here, on the sign up page, if they click login, we just want to take them back here. And that's really simple to do because we've already implemented all that. We'll do button login, we'll set on action, new event handler, and then we'll do just the change scene method, pass in our event, sample.fxml, and then we'll pass in login because they'll be on the login page, and then they're not signing in, so we're just going to pass null for these because they don't need any actual information set. But so this should be the whole program. So now is the moment of truth of pressing play and hoping that everything I wrote in here works. So let's just fingers crossed, let's see what happens. Okay, so you can see we have it here. The reason it's this size is actually it's set here. Yeah, so we don't want it this small. We're going to do 600 by 400 is I believe what it was. So let's close this. Also close this one so I don't get them mixed up. And then let's press play. Cool, and so it looks pretty similar. So let's do, I'm always nervous about this part. Let's do this, and let's do subscribe, and let's press login. And so if something is, you can see it's unresponsive. So if something is unresponsive like this, it usually means that we don't have our controller linked up of our fxml file. So this is here, controller and sample. Also, this is hello world. We should change this to log in. But so usually if you have like unresponsiveness like this, it means they're not linked. So if we go into our sample fxml, you can see, that we don't have an fx controller. So our parent element, or essentially our parent element right here is this h box. It's the outermost element. And on those, you need to set a property called fx controller. And this will be sample.controller for this, because this is where we are working with all these elements. And so this is why that wasn't doing anything. So now let's close this and run it again. First thing, let's check this. Cool, okay, that's good. So we can see we're flipping between login and sign up. Oh, we're also having an issue on this page. So let's go to sign up controller or signup.fxml. Let's go into our text. And it seems like we don't have in here. I could have sworn I remember putting these in, but so once again, we need sample dot. This one is signup controller. So dot signup controller, and then maybe it's gone with this one too. Might have been when we deleted these in here, but so I'm gonna go to text from the scene builder. Okay, this has it. So that one looks good. All right, now let's try and run it again. So we've got sign up, log in. Okay, we didn't add a cursor to this, but you can see the buttons filled in now too and everything. We can flip between these. Sign up, please fill in all our information. Okay, that looks promising. Let's log in. Provided credentials are incorrect. And we were not saying like giving them any more information because we don't want them to know for security reasons, like if the username is already taken or if the password is wrong but the username is right. So try and keep it as broad as possible. That's just a side note. But let's say, so let's create a user. Let's do the usual with code, subscribe, favorite YouTube channel, and then let's press sign up. So you can see when we click this, we got an error and it said line 63. So there must be something wrong with our statement here, and you can clearly see that we just forgot a parenthesis. It's really simple in these without autocomplete when you're using strings, but so insert into users these parentheses, and then values these parentheses. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, and now let's go to the sign up page. Let's do the same thing. With code, subscribe, favorite YouTube channel is Witcode, and let's sign up. Awesome, welcome Witcode. Your favorite YouTube channel is Witcode. And now let's actually go into our database, check the users there. Awesome, now we've got one user. So you can see we've got one user signed up with the username, password, and everything. And now let's log out of here. That looked good. We can go back. Some of the styling is off, of course. I didn't spend too much time in the styling on this, but I feel like you all can make it look the way you want. And if you want it to look like the original, of course, it'll be in my GitHub, so don't worry about that. But log in. So let's try and log in. Let's get it wrong. Okay, provided credentials are incorrect. Let's try it again. Okay, cool. But then let's fix it. So let's do an E here. Awesome, welcome Witcode, your favorite YouTube channel. Oh man, okay, this is promising. And then let's do username Mike, password 123, 123 pizza. And then favorite channel is someone else, don't know why, but let's sign them up. Welcome Mike, your favorite YouTube channel is someone else. Awesome. And then check in here. And then we got our other user here. And then just one last thing is let's sign in as him. So Mike, the password is 123 pizza, 123 pizza. Awesome. All right, cool. So looks like everything's working. So this was a pretty cool video to make. If you want to see me make more of these, let me know in the comments. Or if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments. I'll try and get back to you. But I guess I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.